get more details on the Citrix Ready program, you can visit to citrix.com/partner programs/Citrix Ready. Okay, so before we start the actual presentation, I would like to mention that if you have any questions about this webinar, please use the question panel on the right-hand side of your GoToWebinar tool, and we will take your questions in the Q&A sessions at the end. So without any further delay, please welcome Marisol to begin today's presentation. Hi, Marisol, over to you.
Okay, well, thank you, Sashi. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar as we will be discussing the secure mobile and cloud printing solutions with UniPrint. We hope today's webinar provides you with some valuable information as you look to solve these challenges. My name is Marisol Lopez, and I'm the Territory Manager here at UniPrint. I'll be one of your presenters of today's webinar. Our speaker today is John Raschuti, our pre-sales engineer. Again, as Sashi mentioned, if you have any questions, please enter it, and we'll do our best to answer those questions at the end of the webinar. And with that, we will get started. So in today's agenda, I'm going to talk to you about UniPrint, discuss the features and benefits of our solutions, talk about more into detail with the secure mobile printing challenges, just give you some idea on some return on investment, and then we'll open it up for some Q&A. So UniPrint has been around since 1999. Our head office is located in Toronto, Canada, and we also have another office in the UK. We've been Citrix Ready partners since 2011. We were the first one to patent the PDF Universal Print Driver solution. Very proud of that. UniPrint was created to solve print driver issues, and today we continue to evolve and offer more features additional to that. We are the leaders in the VDI, RDS, and cloud printing solutions with many, actually millions of users using our software worldwide in over 70 countries. You may recognize some names here. These are some of the customers that are presently using our software. So what is UniPrint? UniPrint is a universal print driver, which is PDF-based, that allows users to print to any device. It streamlines printing and printer management, replacing all the Windows printer drivers in Citrix XenApp and XenDesktop, Microsoft RDS, and VMware View environments. Our solution provides a range of enhanced printing solutions for all computing environments. It optimizes printing functionality, minimizes printer management, improves print security, and reduces bandwidth consumption. It really just simplifies the printing management in any environment. The software allows you to save, email, and merge multiple PDF files before printing. So some of the benefits that we offer, again, simplifying the printer management, and that's cost efficiency by replacing all manufacturer print drivers with a universal print driver that is totally printer vendor independent. It enables anywhere, anytime, any device secure pull printing across different platforms and offices. By deploying UniPrint print servers in remote locations, print spool files will be converted and compressed as much as 90%, providing speedier printing with the added benefits of less network bandwidth usage. Improves security, especially in the healthcare vertical, meeting the HIPAA compliance. You will see a lot of savings by using our printing solution as well. It reduces waste printing, thereby saving paper, ink, and other consumables and energy costs. So this is how we look at UniPrint. So here's our core product. So our core product is a universal print driver. So with that, we've expanded and created. So our software truly goes beyond that. It gives you the standard features that I will be discussing with you shortly. The secure pull printing, the mobile printing, high availability, smart print used on EMRs, and also print compression. We will go into more details as we touch each one of them. So within our standard features, we have the centralized management console, where this is where administrator install the software and manage the driver. PDF conversion, compression, providing you with over 90% bandwidth savings. The Print Tab module is a printer mapping tool that eliminates the requirement to use group policies or login scripts. Our Gateway module allows thin or serial clients to print to network printers without installing a client software. The printer profiles advanced features capability, so you don't lose any of those features on the multifunction printers that you have, such as the functionalities of doing hole punching, stapling, and much more. The Statistics module is a feature that allows you to capture information, allowing you to see what is being printed, where, and allows the administrator to monitor what's going on in the environment. Archiving is another feature that we have. Every single job that gets printed gets saved into the PDF format for future reference or for auditing purposes. And we have an end-to-end 256-bit encryption. Each individual, on the pull printing and the secure printing, each individual user will print to the VPQ. When they are ready to print the document, they walk up to the VPAD device, authenticate themselves, and print to a network-connected printer associated with a VPAD device. We will be able to demonstrate this feature to you. Some additional, at the beginning of the month, we released the latest version 9 of Affinity. Here are some of the features that we have introduced. So our high availability. There's been new enhancements to this particular module. It eliminates single points of failure in the printing system, safeguarding your critical systems. With the additional capability of load balancing, you can also be ensured that even in the largest enterprise environments, printing will remain quick and efficient. Delegate printing allows users to delegate the right to print their documents to another user or user groups through PIN-coded user authentication. We know that now there's over 3 billion people that are connected to the web today, and over 65% of Americans are using smartphones. So we understand the need for mobile and cloud printing. In our mobile solution, it allows administrators to quickly and easily convert any Windows print queue into an AirPrint-enabled printer. Another way of using the mobile feature is the email to print, which allows any mobile device user to email a print job to a designated or PIN-protected printer. One click to install, easy to deploy with no client software needed. And another feature that is included in added to our latest version is the print stream compression. This is perfect for environments where a remote site print server or a server client setup is not possible. So with that, I will pass it over to John, and he will start the demo for you.
Thank you, Marisol. So I'm going to start my first slide here with the infrastructure overview, a typical diagram that we use to talk about how UniPrint can be deployed in different environments. But I'm going to kind of focus on secure pull printing, security with mobility in mind. Okay? So for UniPrint to work in a typical environment, we have your typical data center on the left here. Okay? There's 3 components that make up UniPrint. The first component is a client, and we call it the application server. So this is the universal driver. This is the rendering engine that sits in a VDI environment. Okay? So that's the first critical component. The second component is what we call a bridge server. Okay? So the bridge server is the only dedicated component you need for UniPrint to work in a net new environment. Okay? So that's the only net new server added. That is our licensing box. It can also hold secure print jobs as well. And it serves many other functions as well. However, to simplify everything for this webinar, we're going to use the example of the bridge server as our licensing box and our secure pull printing holding repository. Okay. The last component, the third component, is the print server. Okay, so this is where the native drivers reside. I don't need native drivers on my Citrix hosts, my Zen desktops. I don't need them there. I just use a universal driver, but I do need to render the print job at a print server at one point. Okay, so that's a Microsoft print server. So UniPrint print server software installs over a standard Microsoft print server. Okay, this diagram kind of details our typical deployment scenario types. We give you 3 remote site examples. Remote site 1 is where we have locally connected printers, and to get our compressed PDF job over the wire, over virtual channels, we use a client on the PC. Okay, so that's one scenario. The second scenario is where we send that print job over an IP network directly to a print server, and the print server renders the print job. So that's our second, what we call our gateway printing. Okay, and the third deployment scenario type is where we eliminate print servers at remote sites and use a box called a VPAD, which I'm going to get into next, which is our secure pull printing device, and it can also act as a print server. Okay, so I'm going to get into the next slide, which is talking about security and our pull printing device. Okay, so there's a couple of security risks: unintentional security breaches or intentional security breaches. So I want to talk about them both and kind of show you how our secure pull printing device works with UniPrint. So a user prints a confidential document, and by the time they get to the printer, the document's gone. How many times has that happened? I'm sure it's happened in many companies. It certainly has happened where I used to work. Another typical call to the help desk that I would get was they accidentally sent it to the wrong printer. Okay. I know that's happened many times, and without secure pull printing, there's no way to avoid that. Another typical breach is someone else saw it before the user collected. So, you know, I printed it. Of course, I got a phone call, an email, whatever. I forgot to pick up my print job, and it's been sitting there all day on the printer. And then the last type of breach that we go on to talk about is the printers they sent it to went offline. Okay, so the user resent it to another printer. Service guy comes over, fixes it. He doesn't clear the queues, and lo and behold, all the secure documents start printing after the fact. So those are some typical unintentional breach scenarios that I'm going to go over. And if you think it won't happen to you, more than 70% of organizations have experienced this. Okay. So how do we take that challenge and address it with UniPrint? Well, beyond the universal print driver that we have that allows you to print directly to network printers, like you do today, beyond that we have secure pull printing, which is part of the suite, the standard suite, like Marisol mentioned. Whether you decide to turn it on and use it for specific departments or users or groups, etc., it's up to you, but the tool is there. Okay, the only additional hardware required in the environment are these VPAD devices to release the document. Now, having said that, this is a hardware device to release documents. We also have, we also support a number of printer vendors where we can put our software right on the screen on some of those vendors' printers. Okay, so how does it work? Here's the basic infrastructure that I was mentioning earlier. We have a UniPrint application server, so this is a VDI host. We'll have our universal driver on there. They'll print to the UniPrint cloud printer. Let's call it a cloud printer. We name it the UniPrint VPQ by default out of the box. Okay, they'll print to that printer. We'll hold it on the bridge, and we'll wait for the user to walk up to the VPAD device here and release the document. Okay, the VPAD device is located near a printer or a group of printers. I can assign many printers to one device of any vendor. Okay, so I can assign one printer for that device or many. You want to do that for backup purposes. If a printer went down, somebody wanted to redirect the job, they can go into their queue, and I'll show you that in the demo, how they can redirect the job. Okay, so they walk up to that device. They tap their badge. So we have an RFID or HID model of this device that allows them to tap their badge and release their print jobs. So that once they register their badge, they'll see their print jobs, and then they can release it to the printer that's nearby. And from an administrative-driven task, we're going to assign printers to these devices based on physical location. Okay. So there's the device again, a better view of it. It's HID or RFID compatible. It also comes in a touch screen model if you don't have any of those cards and you don't need that capability. So it allows users to send their jobs to this virtual queue, held, and then all the jobs are released once they walk up to the device and indicate that they want to print that job. Okay? We no longer have to map several printers for users, especially in a scenario where you have mobile users like a hospital. We can give a doctor a virtual print queue. If he's walking around doing rounds, floor to floor, we locate one of these devices on one of the floors, and he can just tap his badge when he's ready to release the document. It also, of course, logically, it will save on printing costs by eliminating waste. Okay. So let me just minimize the PowerPoint for a minute, go into my lab here, and show you what the virtual queue looks like. So in this, I have a Citrix Synapse session running, and I've deployed a printer for my user, and by default, we call it the UniPrint VPQ. That could be renamed to anything. It's essentially a privately cloud-based hosted printer. So this printer actually sits in your environment. It's not on the internet. Okay. So that's the printer I'm pushing out to my desktop today for this demo. I'm going to take a document, hit File Print, and send it to the virtual print queue. Okay. Of course, if you want to force your users all to use the virtual print queue, you would only push one printer to them. For my demo, I'm selecting it as an optional feature. Okay. So here's my universal driver. I'm going to send this job to the virtual print queue. If I want to enable additional security for each print job, I can also enable a password tied to that job. So I can open it up so that the print jobs all go to the secure full printing device. Anybody who walks up to the device enters my Active Directory name and can release the job. However, if I want to enable additional security, I can use my badge to get into my own private queue. So you require the use of a badge. And in addition to having that badge, I can also enable a password as well. So I have that flexibility. You can keep it open. You can lock it down further by enabling additional security on each print job. So I'm going to send this job without a password right now. I'm going to send it to the virtual print queue, and then I'm going to use an emulator in this demo to demonstrate what the software looks like. Okay. So this is our VPad emulator, essentially the same software that's running on that device. And that device, just to let you know, it's a hardened Linux device. It has basically a built-in switch on the device itself, so you don't need to add drops on your network. Okay, so you can use that integrated switch to plug that into the wall and then plug your printer into the device if you're low on drops. Okay, so this is the same software. When I walk up to it, for the purposes of a software emulator, I'm going to type my name and I'm going to see my print jobs. Okay, so picture a user with a badge. When they tap their badge, they'll go right into this queue where they can see all their print jobs. Okay. So here's my print job I just sent down. Okay. I can delete it, or I can hit print and send it off to a printer. Okay. For this demo, I've assigned 3 printers to this device. Again, like I mentioned, I can assign 1 printer and have them tap and just release all the print jobs if you want, or I can have them select a printer from the list and send the job down. Okay, I can even, if I sent the job down to the printer and there was a paper jam of some sort, I can even go into my printed job, previously printed jobs, and resend the print job to another printer on the network. Okay. And like you see here, I have vendors of any type. I have Lexmark and an HP here. So because we're converting all the documents using our driver into PDF, this device is vendor agnostic. I could send this to any brand printer. Even if the printer doesn't support a touch screen, I could put this next to one of those printers. So you can force secure pull printing. Okay? So those are the basics around secure pull printing. With our software, the bridge server manages all these devices. Okay? So I can manage those devices from our bridge. On this demo, you can see I have disabled devices and enabled devices. This emulator is actually has 3 printers assigned. If I want to add printers, I just right-click here, Add Printer, and select the printers on my network. Okay, so that's a high-level basic introduction to the secure pull printing. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my slides here and just make a couple of notes and then talk about how we can use this device and enable a mobile strategy for your users. Okay, so new in version 9, in addition to what I was just showing you, is a delegate feature. This will come in handy in, I guess, law offices and healthcare where, let's say a doctor wants to submit a job and have a nurse pick it up. Okay, so we can create queues specifically for this workflow. So we've added new workflows in version 9, and that allows doctors to submit print jobs and have nurses pick it up. Okay, we do that by integrating with email and having the nurse get a secure pull a PIN code to release the document. Okay, so that's new in version 9. And basically, some of the stuff I had mentioned earlier is on this slide here, and this is about how the device is vendor agnostic. We could save printing costs and eliminate waste by not having jobs that were just left on the printer. Okay, additional features that the device gives you the flexibility of adjusting number of copies. So if they've printed 1 copy from their desktop, they can walk up to the device and they don't have to walk back to their desk to print additional copies or take out pages, etc. Okay, so we're going to save on costs with that device. I did also mention earlier that this device functions as a print server as well, so I just wanted to touch upon that before I get into the next mobility side. So this is a multi-purpose appliance. If you want to consolidate your print servers into a data center, we can do that by adding print queues on the UniPrint print server in a data center. And what we can do is pipe the jobs over to this appliance and have them compressed and then have them spooled at the remote site. So across the WAN, we're going to have compression. We're going to eliminate the print server at the remote site and only manage queues in the data center. So we can use this, it's a multi-purpose device, so we can use it for pull printing or as a print server at remote sites. So it's quite neat. Okay. This supports an unlimited amount of printers. Okay, just make your note. The only limitation right now is it can only transfer 5 concurrent print jobs at once, and then the 6th one is queued. Okay. So now we're talking about unintentional breaches and how an employee can bypass your company's IT security and remove confidential data from the network. Okay, they can print and walk out the front gate. Now, how do we protect against that? Now, somebody's already done that. So what we can do is turn on our reporting and archiving modules to allow print data statistics to be collected into a database and the actual PDF copies of print jobs to be archived onto the file system. Okay, so we have that feature. It's not turned on by default. It's part of the suite, but we can definitely turn that on so that you can report on who's printing. Okay, you can create your custom reports or use our CAN reports, and you can get trends that are happening across the network. Find out which printers are underutilized or overutilized, of course. Okay, and additionally, if you want, all of this is captured into a database, and so you can even do some chargebacks if you like. Okay, this increases security by keeping track of who's printed what, And again, I can take every PDF image. Since we're doing PDF for our rendering engine, we can put that on a server. Okay, so you can actually have an image of what they printed. Okay. So now let's talk about mobility and how this plays into mobility. Okay. With version 9, we support iOS and OS X printing. Okay. With a single click, I can make UniPrint printers iOS aware. Okay. There's no extra hardware for this. It's all software driven. Okay. It fully integrates with our archiving and statistics. And on the iOS device itself, there's really no configuration. It just uses the iOS printing. Okay. It's also Zen mode world ready. And in addition to, if we're not talking about iOS devices, we can also get print jobs printed mobilely by attaching them to an email. Okay, so this is, let's say it's not an iOS device and I want to get this attachment over to a print job, I can email enable printers. Okay, and I could give them email addresses and have jobs directly sent to printers for print release. Okay. It also integrates with our secure pull printing device called the VPad, which is really nice because rather than email enabling individual printers in the network, I can send it to a generic email address like mobileprint@company.com and have the VPad, have everyone release those jobs from a VPad. This way they're not sitting on a printer, especially if they're mobile. If they're moving around, they're not sure where they're going to pick up this job. They send it to this virtual print queue and then release this document. Okay. So let me just get into that right now. I'm going to minimize the PowerPoint, get into my mobile print environment, and kind of bring up my emulator here. Well, it's actually not an emulator, so I'm using AirPlay to mirror my device. Okay. So in a second, you'll see my iOS device. Okay. So let's say I publish some apps from Works, all right, and I want it to print to a UniPrint printer. Okay. For the demo, I'll just open up Safari. But basically, I use the native printing subsystem on my iOS device. So anytime I have a printer that's enabled on the network, so that's AirPrint enabled, I'm going to hit File Print, and I'll be able to see my printer. So for the demo, I've enabled 2 printers. What I'm allowing my users to do here is directly print to a brother printer, okay? Or I can allow my users to print to the virtual print queue. Okay? So the advantage of sending it to the virtual print queue is the fact that when I submit that job, I can conveniently, at my convenience, I can walk up to our VPad, go into the device, and see my print job. Okay, I can even have a password on that as well. All right, so this was the page I was going to send. If I hit File Print, I just enter my password, click OK, and then off goes the job. Okay. However, if I wanted to send it directly to the printer, my users have that option enabled as well. They can just, we can run a little wizard here that's on our print server, okay, that allows you to take all your UniPrint printers and make them visible to iOS and Macs as well. Okay, that's a big thing. So the AirPrint universal printing subsystem also works on OS X as well. Okay. So we also talked about email to print. So let's say I have a document and I want to attach it and send it to our virtual queue. What I've done is sent a document to this virtual queue. Okay, so for the demo, I use Gmail, and I send it to a printer vpq@gmail. And basically, what happens is our software will pull an email account. Okay, it could be any account, Exchange hosted email account, whatever it may be, but it will send me a PIN. So this is good for guest users or mobile users, Chromebooks, etc. So I have a document in my queue, and now I can just hit File Print. I'm going to hit Delete here, but I'm going to type in the PIN code that was sent to me in my email. In this case, it was 1805, I believe. And now it deleted my email, my print job. So I have the ability to attach emails on any device, send it to one email address, and have it released to any printer in the environment, rather than sending it to multiple printers. Okay, so I'm going to get back to the PowerPoint. And I'm going to move into something that's been requested by a lot of our customers, and that's high availability. Okay? So UniPrint, I mentioned earlier, I've introduced a bridge server in the environment. That's the net new box. I already have print servers, and I already have clients using app servers. So the only really net new box in my environment is that bridge. However, I want to protect against failure with that bridge. If you decide to use UniPrint high availability, we can do that using Windows Standard Edition and not have to buy a clustering solution from Microsoft. So we don't have to go into get enterprise licensing. We could use Windows Standard, and you can use our software to either load balance or enable high availability in an environment by pointing the application server, so our Citrix host, to a bridge server. Okay? We could split them. You can point some people on the second bridge and some on the first. But basically, once we introduce a second bridge, we're going to enable an HA environment where if this is not available, we'll route the jobs to the second bridge. In the case of print servers, if you want to create some high availability on print services, we can add the same queues on print server 1 and print server 2 and have our software route the print jobs if print server 1 goes down. Okay. So I'm going to demo that right now and kind of give you the scenario where, hey, I'm an administrator. It's that time of the month to get into patching, etc. And I want to shut down my first print server and apply some patches. Okay, so here's my HA environment. I have a print server, primary print server with a print queue. I'll be printing to an HP printer. And on my secondary backup server, I have the same print queue with the same name. It points to the same printer. Everything's the same. Okay. So I'm going to go into my my client. My client happens to be doing a lot of printing today. In fact, he's going to be printing about 50 documents. Okay. So now he hit file print. His session is spooling a bunch of documents. But I'm the network admin, and I don't want to work late tonight, so I'm gonna shut down our services here, and I'm gonna say I want to take this box down for maintenance. So I'm gonna stop the UniPrint services, and once they're all stopped, our software is gonna detect that the services aren't running, and we're gonna start sending it to the second print server. Okay, so the second print server starts processing those jobs automatically. We're gonna route them to the second server. Now, I did some quick maintenance there. I applied many of those patches that Microsoft releases every couple of weeks. Okay, so I started up my services again, and I'll allow my users to start printing. My secondary box said, okay, print server 1 was online again. Let's start sending those jobs back to print server 1. Okay, so in its most basic form, this is how we can route print jobs from one print server to other. We're going to use our software. We're not going to use clustering. Okay, so that was my take on HA. So that's the only component that is licensed separately. Okay. Now I'm going to turn it over to Marisol, and we're going to talk about ROA.
Thank you, John. I hope this session has given everybody a better understanding of UniPrint and the benefits of implementing our print solution in your organization. So I'm going to talk to you about some return on investment, how you can see the return on investment in your organization. So UniPrint has deployed our software to the clinical environment at St. Joe's Health Hospital in Southern California. Large hospital with various remote locations. So we wanted to sort of take an account of, to prove what the ROI was going to be. So what we did, we got some information on what was printed on a 12-month period. So out of that, the stats showed that about 50% of their tickets were printer-related tickets. So that's in 1 year, they had recorded over 14,000 tickets. So now we wanted to prove that there was at least a savings of 30% within that. So what we did here, we just did some calculation about the average time of a help desk labor and all of that. So after doing the math and just reducing the amount of tickets and all that stuff, we were able to demonstrate to St. Joe's Hospital that there was over $73,000 in savings by implementing UniPrint in their environment. So they were extremely happy about that. So this was sort of once everything was implemented, we looked at it all over again, and it actually came back to within the matrix that we actually saved them 43% on reduced cost savings in the help desk and printing-related costs. Another ROI stat that was done by Gartner Group, it really encouraged the fact of by using secure pull printing, you can actually reduce the page volume by 20 to 40%. So everything, unless you retrieve that job, authenticate to retrieve that job, then things don't really get printed or just are left behind on the printers. Another way of doing this and showing some ROI is setting to duplex printing and also to black and white. And as a default, you'll be able to see some savings to over 30%. So what our customers are saying about, here's some testimonials. Well, we recently did a case study with St. Joseph's Health. One of the things, I'm sure you guys can read about this. We have all this information posted on our website as well. So in a nutshell, what we've done here, we have improved the workflow in their environment. We've reduced the help desk calls by 43%. We delivered a fast, stable printing solution to all their clinical divisions. They're very happy with UniPrint, by the way. Another hospital is Sunrise Health. In this particular environment, we actually deployed the pull printing throughout the hospital in remote clinicals and remote clinics. We reduced the printing cost over there, and we gave them the improved security that they much needed and requested in that environment. Very easy to install, easy to implement. Again, huge productivity and workforce productivity increase because of that. And the last one I have is El Centro Medical Center located in California. They are a virtual environment. So in this case, what we did, we delivered a single universal print driver to all their virtual desktops. We reduced the number of drivers to manage and truly improved the workforce process using UniPrint. So now what we're going to do is answer some questions. So we'll go to the panel and be able to answer some of the questions that you have.
Okay, I see a question around the VPAD device, and Alex wants to know how it's connected to the network. So it's essentially a network device. So it's a hardened Linux device with a network port on it. There's also a pass-through port as well, so it's actually got an integrated switch. So you plug this device directly into the network, and it just needs a power adapter as well. It needs an IP address of its own, and the second IP address it needs, which can be auto-discovered by the software or manually entered, is the IP address of either one of your print servers or your bridge server. So it's a network device, and we have ports on there that allow you to utilize the second port in case you don't want to add drops on the network. Okay. Another question I have is, how is the software licensed? Okay. You want to answer that?
Sure. Our software is licensed per concurring user. And so every time that the user logs in, they are grabbing one license. As soon as they log off, the license goes back into the pool.
Okay. Okay, another one is, I'll answer this next one. Okay. Is there a possibility to clean up print jobs which weren't picked up overnight? The answer is yes. Of course, the software does have the option to clean and trim print jobs that are just stale and nobody's picked up, and you could set that from like 1 minute to several days and hours. So that's customizable, as well as their previously printed documents as well. We have a tab that allows them to pick up previously printed print jobs. We can clean that up after any amount of time that you want. Okay, so let's see what else I have here. Okay, so a question is about the print servers, and do they need to have native drivers and print queues? Yeah, so that's the only place in the UniPrint environment where we need the native driver. It's only on the print server. Okay, so we're going to take that PDF. We're going to create a compressed, encrypted PDF on the app server, and we're going to take that PDF across the WAN so it's optimized, compressed, and send it to a print server. Once it gets to the print server is going to render that print job using the native driver. Okay.
I just wanted to say to everyone, if your question does not get answered, we will follow up with you with a response individually after the webinar. We will also be sending you, following up with a link of today's webinar in case you want to share it with other colleagues. That was one of the questions that was asked as well.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, so does this software support printers which are incompatible with Citrix? Yes, we are compatible with about 99% of the printers in the market, so we do work. So hopefully your environment doesn't have the 1%.
Correct.
Yeah. What's another question?
I'll grab one more here. Oh, it's support for RFID cards built into the VPad or an external connection or a card reader. No, so the VPad comes in 3 flavors. It comes in a touchscreen only, RFID, or HID model. Okay, so it comes in 3 different models. You do not need the use of an external card reader unless you have a card that is not compatible with one of our frequencies. And if you want more details on that, you can contact us directly and we'll give you the specifications for the card reader. And I think that's it on my side.
Yes, I think there's some, again, if we didn't get to your questions, we'll get back to you and answer as best as we can. Now, I believe that there's one question that I see. How is the HA option license? It's also by concurring users. So normally, if you were purchasing our UniPrint software, you would do the same as for HA as well. So you would have to get the same amount of licenses in order to get the redundancy. So Sashi, do you want to add anything to this?
No, Marcel, I think you covered pretty much everything, and to be honest, it was a very wonderful webinar. So if there are, just to reiterate, if there are any other unanswered questions or anyone wants to ask a few more questions, you can write back to us at citrixready@citrix.com, and we'll take up those questions and answer them shortly via email. Okay, so do you have anything to add, Marcel and John? If not, then I'll conclude this webinar.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, everyone, for listening to our presentation. We look forward to working with you, and feel free to reach us. We can certainly discuss your needs in a more, one-on-one, and present a full demo of their software to you.
Okay. Thanks, Marcel. Thank you all for attending today's webinar in this Citrix Ready product webinar series. So this concludes our broadcast. Thank you.